Here I'm looking at the area of a rectangle, and I remember that area equals length times width. My rectangle here of 5 centimeters by 3 centimeters, I can say that 5 centimeters is my length and 3 centimeters equals my width. With that, I know I can take my area equals 5 centimeters times 3 centimeters. This equals 15 centimeters squared. Well, where do we get that centimeters squared? If I look at the idea of centimeters squared, I can change this rectangle into having unit tiles, or 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter tiles. Given that each of these is 1 centimeter, I see that I have 5 rows, or 5 columns, times 3 rows. And then each of these is a 1 by 1 centimeter tile, or the area of it is 1 centimeter squared. And looking at the area of a triangle, area of a triangle equals 1/2 the base times the height. Well, let's figure out where we get that. Here we have the base of a triangle and the height of a triangle. But notice, if this entire thing was a rectangle, I'm only looking at half of that rectangle. In the example I just brought in, notice I have a base of 3 units, and we don't know what the units are, so I'll just pretend it's inches, by a height of 6 units. And again, I'll go with 6 inches. So, looking at this, if it were a rectangle, I would take 3 inches times 6 inches to get 18 inches squared. However, since it's a triangle and I'm only looking at half of this, I'm going to divide this by 2 to get my area of 9 inches squared. In finding the area of a composite figure, first, what does composite mean? Composite means that we have composed things together, we've put things together. So in this case, we've put multiple shapes together into one figure. There's a few ways I can solve the area. One is to think outside of the box. Literally, make an entire rectangle around this figure. If I did that, I would have an area of a rectangle that is 15 millimeters by 40 millimeters. So I know the area of that entire rectangle, 15 millimeters times 40 millimeters, which equals 600 millimeters squared. However, I need to subtract off part of this. The first area I'm going to subtract off, because it is not part of my shaded area, or the entire green rectangle, would be this blue rectangle I just created. The blue rectangle has a base of 20 millimeters, or a length of 20 millimeters. But what is this height? What is the width? Well, there's some really special notation on this. Notice these little lines in here. These lines mean that they are all the same length. And given that my entire height is 15 millimeters, I need to break this down into 3 equal pieces. 3 pieces that are the same length. And so if I take 15 and divide that by those 3 pieces, I get 5 millimeters. So therefore I know the area of this rectangle is 20 millimeters times 5 millimeters, which equals 100 millimeters squared. Note that that 100 millimeters squared will be subtracted from my 600 millimeters at the end. My last area I need to subtract away would be this triangle. I know the triangle is upside down, but that's okay. We see that the triangle will have a base of 10 millimeters. How did I figure that out? Well, if this entire thing is 40 millimeters, this section here is 30, that leaves me with 10 more millimeters I need to account for. My height is the same height I have on this side, 15 millimeters. So that triangle is 10 millimeters by 15 millimeters. Therefore, the area would be 10 millimeters times 15 millimeters, all divided by 2, or I'm taking half of it because it's a triangle. So therefore, my area, first I can look at 10 times 15, which is 150, then divide that in half, which is 75 millimeters squared. Putting this all together, I take the area of my big triangle, or my big rectangle, 600 millimeters squared. I'm subtracting that, the blue, which had an area of 100 millimeters squared, and I'm subtracting the triangle. Altogether, this leaves me with an area of 425 millimeters squared. Now, there are other ways to solve this. I could take each shape that is shaded and find the area individually. Notice I would have 1, 2, 3, 4 different shapes. That's another way I could solve this. If I did that, which I'm not going to work out for you right now, the goal would be that I would get the same total area of 425 millimeters squared. It's your turn now. Here's a shape, a composite figure. I want you to figure out what the area is. So, on another sheet of paper, you need to find the area. Make sure that you show all of your work. Even if you can do it in your head, I want to see work written down on paper. Then when you've completed that, show me your work for your next steps. Good luck!